Tina Litz, Warden at the Lebanon County Prison. I had emailed a copy of the GTL contract that we're asking for approval to move forward with, which would include the tablets and video visitation here at the county correctional facility.
Would you want to be willing to just talk about some of this GTL, by the way, is a company we've been contracting with for a very long time for inmate phone services, provides them the ability to call out, provides for charges that are incurred by them, provides for a commission that the facility gets. And as GTL has done with ours and other facilities, they offer back certain services and technology and so on as a partner in this. So, but this particular one, they're offering some educational opportunities that I think you're pretty excited about. I guess that's the right word. But can you just talk about those for a moment and how the pads, the tablets would work in terms of inmate use for a little bit?
Sure. So I did have the solicitor, take a look at the contract. I went back to GTL, met with Tom Gibby, and he kind of added some things to the contract which would benefit our inmates. One of the most highlighted benefits to the inmates having the tablet would be something called the Edovo Education Suite. So on the tablets, at no cost to the inmates, no cost to us, there will be several models of education and learning for the inmate population. The tablets are good for education, for contact with the community, especially with COVID, but also different behavioral settings that for us to utilize to help with the inmate population. Some of the core education offers on the tablet would be cognitive behavioral therapy and mental health components, the GED HiSET component. So we haven't been able to run on-site GED or HiSET classes due to COVID. We've been doing the back and forth packets, but as you guys know, sometimes inmates are too embarrassed to, it's not cool to get, to be in school or to further your education or to maybe meet when you need some help with some things. So these tablets offer an opportunity of confidentiality for the inmates if they want to better enhance themselves. There's a section for job skills and personal finance, which as a county correctional facility and knowing our inmate component is going to be re-entered back into the community, that's a highlight for us to be able to offer the potential for them to find ways to better themselves to come out to the community. There's the religion and spirituality aspect, reading and literacy, some legal topics, and just some overall educational videos, etc., that the population would have access to. We would divvy out X amount of tablets per block on each of the blocks within the institution, and they would have access to them during their blockout period. The part of the old contract that we had that Warden Carnes helped initiate was getting to the video visiting. We would finish up that component and add the additional tablets, working with GTL and them being in contact with IT in order to make that happen.
Okay, Commissioner Litz has a question.
I do. I'm still unclear with your terminology. They will not be going into their cells. They would be monitored in a central location on each block?
No, they could take so they have like what's called a docking system on the block. So we would account for them at the beginning and the end of their blockouts. They can take them to read in their cells or to do educational work in their cells. The difference is if they're going to be utilizing them for any kind of visit, it would have to be on a docking system. And there's some security operational things I don't want to publicly get into, but we could talk at a later date about those. So they would be able to have access to them. They time out at a certain period. So they would have access to take them in and out of their cells.
So they, during video visits, must be monitored then?
Yes, and we do have security operational examples of policies that we will put in place to protect the community and the inmate in that regard.
And do the inmates sign that if they destroy one, that they would pay to replace it?
That would be part of the policy that we would develop, yes.
All right, those were just some of the things I wasn't sure about.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that would be similar to any other property. I mean, that is customary that if there's damage to property, it's an current policy, sorry for interrupting you, Jamie, is if they do destruct some kind of destruction of prison property, they would be handled disciplinary wise, and if found guilty, then they get they're responsible for reimbursement.
Well, we wouldn't actually own these, would we? Are they owned by the company, the GTI company, or do we actually own them?
Well, part of the contract is they're ours for our usage. I'd have to clarify that more in depth as far as like, they're ours, but there's a requirement that we have to be able to provide them for the use of the inmate population, if that makes sense. Like, we can't just get them and not provide them to the inmates. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Yeah, I don't think we own them. The advantage to not owning them, but having them simply provided to us is the updating of them, the replacing of them, you know, the responsibility. I mean, if you go and buy a batch of tablets, you know, in another year or two or whenever from wear and tear or use, you have to go buy a bunch more. You know, it's very similar to the laptops and desktops that we use the county and lease those on a rotation so that they're always updated.
And the malware kinds of things, will this have the ability to affect our main computer system and internet services?
To my knowledge, no. IT looked at the contract. They also took a look at it and didn't see a problem with it. They would work hand in hand with GTL as we would advance if you guys approve of the contract. So they've been networking about this in general. I know in the beginning when the tablets first came out, there was an issue, which is why probably we didn't jump on the bandwagon in the beginning, because tablets have been around for quite a while now. They kind of worked out those security kinks to date. So where we're at, there's nothing that we should be aware of that would be a problem.
So they cannot hack in with malware and all that. But how about, I mean, if we have security issues, can we shut them down for a period of time? Do we have that authority?
There's certain security and operational things that I feel like we could talk, not here, just for the security and operations of the institution to protect that. So I'd love to have that conversation. I just don't feel comfortable jeopardizing the security of the institution by doing it at this point.
Does our IT have to set these up, or does the company set them up?
The contract would have GTL come in and they would do all the wiring, all the legwork, etc. IT already did what they call the channel study, which is something GTL would do, like a checks and balance. And when they previewed it, they didn't see that there would be an issue. But GTL would be in contact with Danielle and Jay at IT, and they would work this out together.
But who installs the software programs?
GTL,
Okay.
the actual
All right.
company, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I'm just trying to, I mean, I read the contract, but there were still some things I wasn't sure about, like IT. I'm glad they got to review everything and make sure that it won't interfere with what we do at the county. And how about the bandwidth? I mean, sometimes we tell employees to clean out old files because we're out of bandwidth. And does this interfere with our bandwidth?
I believe that was part of the quote unquote channel study that IT did. If you would feel comfortable, Tom Gibney from the company, he can't do it in a public setting, but if you guys would like him to meet with you and give you a presentation, he's more than willing to do that.
I don't need a whole presentation. I'd just like to know what the amount of bandwidth is and if it's going to slow down our operations in the county.
It's important to keep in mind, first of all, these tablets are just end user devices. You know, these aren't like a laptop or a desktop that's storing files or anything like that. It's just a means to access back to the, you know, back to the main source of the education files and all of those sorts of things. But it's also not part of the server farm that IT maintains. So it's,
It's a
you know,
separate
this is
server.
Yeah, this is just as if you would, I'm trying to come up with an example, which I'm not doing a great job of, but it is a standalone with these end user devices. These are dumb devices, so to speak. They're just something that gives them access to read things and to you know, communicate by sort of like a FaceTime.
They cannot store anything on the tablet.
No.
According to the contract, it's 2.4 G8Z through 5 G8C bands. Now, I'm not a technological guru, but again, that doesn't seem to be a whole lot of, you know, and again, they're going to be using them at their blockout periods, which according, you know, to our operations, they get 2 hours at a time at random points during a 24 daily operations. Again, ITI looked over this and I'm sorry, IT, and I really believe if there was any kind of problem or conflict, Danielle would have said, hey, stop the train, like we can't do this. And I would have respected that. So I trust by them looking over it, it's part of the checks and balance system to make sure we are doing the right thing and moving forward in the right direction with them.
Okay, I'm more comfortable with your answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill, do you have any, Commissioner Ames, any questions?
No, are you ready for a motion?
Yeah, yes, go ahead. Yep.
Well, I will make a motion for us to adopt this contract, and I'll just preface that motion with I think Tina used the expression she's excited about the educational opportunity, and I too am excited about that, and I feel very comfortable that folks in our organization, IT and the prison and so on, have done their legwork and made sure that it's operationally sound for the county. So, you know, we have people incarcerated, but we never want to overlook the final goal is to try to return these folks to everyday life and be a contributing part of our society. And this seems to me like an opportunity to at least help facilitate that. So I'm anxious to make a motion that we accept this contract and move forward.
I'll second the motion with just one additional comment. I was glad that they had a program on parenting. I think that's important.
Yes.
My reaction to reading through this was that it gives you additional tools to help you manage the inmate population. And so I think all that is a good investment of our time to be involved in this. So, all right, any other comments or questions regarding this motion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same signs, so moved.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
Tina.
Warden.